If you're still finishing up your meal or dessert, feel free to go ahead and do that, but we are going to go ahead and start this evening's program. Once again, welcome to the 31st Chadron State Athletics Hall of Fame. It was a wonderful day today. We had a lot of festivities, a great football game, and now an opportunity to kind of celebrate Chadron State Athletics. And it's a very special event tonight for a couple different reasons. One of them was certainly because it's Con Marshall Day, and we've been able to actually Tracy Shuck, our food service provider, said that he felt like he was Con's mom today because he's been feeding him all day long. So it's also our first opportunity to move this event to an evening event like this. And we didn't do this because of the snowstorm last year, but it gave us kind of the opportunity to talk about how we could make this event be a standalone event. And we weren't sure how many people would respond, but this is, according to Con, one of the largest groups that we've had for Hall of Fame. So I want to give a congratulations to all of you. Thank you very much for kicking us off this way. Thanks. What I wanted to do with this and talk to the committee about was actually because I like history. I'm a history major. I like to do things with history. I've had a lot of fun in the last year and a half being here, going through the Black Hills, and actually I was out at Agate Fossil Beds the other day, and I was sniffing around, and I found a stone tablet laying there, and there was a byline by Con Marshall on it. So. Said, Eagles 17, Miocene epic, mammals nothing. So we did good there. Tonight we have the opportunity to recognize two classes. This is the other special part of this night. Both the 2013 and the 2014 inductees. And we realized that we weren't able to get everybody here. But for those of you who tried to get in here during the snowstorm last time and did that, but we weren't able to do anything and could come back, why, thank you very much. That makes this a special night too. The last thing about this that makes this a special night is that for the first time that I was aware of, when we were planning Hall of Fames, I asked my staff what goes on at the Hall of Fame. And they said, you'll have to ask Con because he's the only one that's been there. We're all getting ready for a football game. So this time, some of my staff have been able to be here and celebrate with you. So I think that makes this a special night too. So special nights always require thanking people. Certainly we want to thank the Hall of Fame committee for making the selections that brought you here today. We want to thank Dr. Ryan and his lovely wife Ann for being here tonight. Thank you for being here. We want to thank Tracy Shuck and the creative dining people who have literally been slaving all day over a hot stove for our events, and we really appreciate that. So if you could give a little round of applause to them for their food tonight. Couldn't do these events without Karen Pope and Leslie Bargan and Connie Rasmussen and Cricket Haig and the folks over in the foundation and alumni office. Thank you guys for all of the help that you've given us. Thank the print staff for doing the programs that you have. I also want to thank my staff. Again, this is a chance for them to get to do something they haven't been able to do. So all of the athletic staff, would you be kind enough to stand up so everybody could recognize you, please? Thank you. And tonight, we have quite a lot of recognitions to do, and Con is going to take the helm here in a few moments. And today has been a busy day for him, so we got to keep him rolling through. He did send out a promise to all of you that we would be able to go to church tomorrow morning, so that's a good thing. But before we turn this over to Con, the one person who probably is the biggest part of Con, but had to be kind of in the background today, we wanted to take an opportunity to recognize. And Peggy, would you come up for a moment? just for a second? What we should have done is had you come speak and you tell all kinds of stories about Con, but you don't have to do that. But we, the Hall of Fame Committee and the athletic department purchased this flower arrangement, and it is for you tonight.
Nice.
And congratulations for the night. Okay?
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
All right, now we go into the Hall of Fame, and there were a lot of really great introductions I saw today. So I'm left speechless, but I will tell you that for the 28 years that I've been involved in the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference, one standing presence has always been Con Marshall. And we are blessed to have him here amongst us and to be able to learn from him and work with him. So I'm going to turn tonight's program over to Mr. Con Marshall.
Thank you, Joel. A long time ago, I learned from Bob Devaney. We gave him a standing ovation in the old campus center, and he said, he thanked everybody. He said, "I know why you did that." Said, the men had to adjust their pants, you know. He said, "I don't know what you women do, but I know that's why you all wanted to stand up after you'd eaten anyway." So anyway, thank you very much, but I think that's part of it. I know I need to tug on mine a little bit. It is really a great thing to have. I think this may be as great a class as it's one of the largest when we combine the two, and we have some of the greatest athletes that have ever gone through Chadron State College here tonight that we're going to be honoring, and especially the honor of the basketball team from 1966-67 that went to the national tournament, and we've had 6 of those people come back tonight, and it's just a blessing, a great thing. And man, we've got family members this year, more family members than I've ever seen from some of the families, and it's just great to have all of you here. And we just hope we hope we do get out of here before, because we're going to say quite a bit. I think this is a special night, and I'm going to talk quite a bit about each of the athletes that are being honored. And first of all, we have some that could not be here. Last year we had the big blizzard on the 4th and the 5th of October. Thousands of cattle died in this area in South Dakota and Nebraska. It was a mean, nasty blizzard that unlike any that we've ever had at that time of the year particularly. And probably 90% of the trees in Chadron were damaged. Some of the people from far away got here, but the ones from close, Ryan Turman lives at Hay Springs, he could not get here. So we canceled that event and played football the next on Sunday instead of on Saturday, and it was just a blessing that some of them couldn't come, because if he would have had to travel the roads, it would have really been bad. Anyway, some of these people were here that we're going to show a little bit about them up on the screen, and I'm going to talk a little bit about them. The gentleman there in the plaid shirt on the I guess it'd be your left or whichever way you're seated anyway. To the north. I'm a farm boy. I know this. Anyway, that is Dennis Hendricks. He's from Ogallala, Nebraska. He played football here in 81 and 82. He had gone to the University of Nebraska, thought he could play there. A lot of Nebraska boys think they want to play at Nebraska, and he knew that even if he did get to play his last 2 years, he would not get to play as much as he really wanted to. He came to Chadron State, and he was a big time hit right off the bat, and you can see up there, 2-time first NAIA District 11 first team. That means all the 11s, I think there were 12 schools in Nebraska that played football at that time, including Kearney, Wayne, Peru, Midland, Doane, Hastings, all of them. And he he kind of came out of the blue. He had never played before, but he came and he was the first team NAI district 2 years in a row. He got honorable mention All-American his first year as a junior. The second year he was first team All-American, and we did not have a tremendous football team that year, but the word got out how good he really was. And he was the first the second All-American in NAI that Chadron State ever had. So that's how good a player that Dennis Hendricks was. Unfortunately, Dennis Hendricks passed away when he was only 43 years old in 2003. His sister, who lived in South Carolina, came all the way back, and during the snowstorm, of course, she'd grown up in Nebraska. She knew what it was like. And she came and accepted his plaque. We gave it to her, and she was they were so delighted. In fact, we had to borrow we gave them 2 plaques because his other sister who lives in Ogallala, and she has multiple sclerosis, and she could not come, but her sister that did come wanted a plaque for her too. So the 2 sisters, their parents are both gone, and so it was time that we honored Dennis Hendricks, and he had a kind of a unfortunate life after he graduated, but he was a real football player, big redhead, very handsome, and the biggest player on the team, both on offense or defense. So that's Dennis Hendricks, and anyway, he's a great player. This is Tracy Hyman. He was Chadron State's first 7-foot high jumper. He did it both indoors and outdoors. He became as a freshman, he went 6'11" at an outdoor meet and set the school record, and cleared 7 foot at the second meet, and that, of course, that improved his record. He also won the high jump at the RMAC meet by going 6'10", and went on to place 6'9" to place 8th at the national meet. The following year, Tracy was the first at the RMAC meet by going 6'10", and 2 weeks later won the NCAA Division II National Championship by going 6'10". Then he also cleared 7 foot at the indoor meet up at Black Hills State, and that was the picture that was up there. It's kind of interesting. That was supposed to be an outdoor meet, and Dawn Bramer, you know her, she was a shot putter. She got to throw the shot put. It started snowing so much, and they had to move the meet indoors, which was lucky that they had an indoor facility, or else we'd have all been coming home in the bus real soon. And so we got that picture of him clearing the 7 foot, and so he's the only guy that's ever gone 7 foot both indoors and outdoors. Tracy's now a teacher in Ralston schools in Nebraska. His wife is a Chadron State graduate. They were so happy to get to come here last year. They beat the snowstorm here, and they made it home safely, and so everything went really well. So that's a little bit of history about Tracy Hyman. We also have Mike Riley. Mike Riley's playing golf there because he comes back every year for our golf tournament, the Don Beebe Classic, in the end of May, and he's playing golf there. And Mike Riley was probably what you'd call kind of an ordinary athlete at Chadron State. He was on both the basketball and the baseball teams. But after that, his career has really taken off, and he's done some unusual things that most Chadron State people probably haven't got to do. He was the coach at South Dakota Tech, and he took them, South Dakota School of Mines, whichever you want to call it. It's kind of, they've changed their names several times, and I may say them differently. But anyway, he took the first team that ever went to the national tournament from South Dakota Tech or South Dakota Mines was a team that Mike Riley coached. He also was the Utah's high school coach of the year while he was coaching at Olympus High School in Salt Lake City. And the last 15 or 20 years he's been an NBA scout, and he's done a lot of, he's an advanced scout right this year again for the Utah Jazz, and he's done a lot of great things. His brother Larry, twin brother Larry, also went to Chadron State. He was in the Hall of Fame a little bit earlier than Mike was, and he was the general manager of the Golden State Warriors just a few years ago. So anyway, the Riley twins are both the farm boys from Whitewater, Indiana, and they're both in the Hall of Fame now, and they come back every year for our golf tournament, and we really appreciate that. At this time, I think nearly everybody else is going to be here tonight. We know they're here. So we're going to talk a little bit about the 1966-67 basketball team that was inducted into the Hall of Fame. They had a reunion here this summer, and they were inducted into the Hall of Fame then, and we really don't have too much more to give them tonight. But we'd like to have the players that are here tonight to come forward and be recognized. And this photo, Alex had it fixed up and blown up, and that will hang in the new Shikoin Event Center at the college. And this is undoubtedly our most successful basketball team, particularly. We had a 16-1 team in 1946, right after the war, but this is the team that really put Chadron State basketball on the map. So you guys are please come forward if you would, please. We have tonight Marlon Green from Shenandoah, Iowa, Carol Dolson from I think the Salt Lake City area, Chuck Bunner. Chuck, you still live in Sydney? Okay. He was superintendent of schools there. Lee Dick, who lives in Scottsbluff, former athletic director there. He's the tall guy. Larry Ballman grew up in Chadron, and is Larry still here? He had to go home. Okay, Larry Ballman and his wife were here for the game and everything. Don Reel, who lives from Indiana, and he rounded up everybody, the rest of them. We had to search for a few of them, but we didn't know where they were for a while. And got them, and then Rod Ayler, who was also a great baseball player at Chadron State, and he's from Scottsbluff, and everybody in the Panhandle knows the Ayler name. And anyway, we're so glad to have these fellas back. And this is a picture. I'm sure you've all seen it, and that's the picture that'll be hanging up there, and we appreciate it. I have a couple of things in my pocket for two of these people because they were not here this summer, and that's Carol Dolson and also Chuck Bunner, and I'm going to give you the card that puts you kind of officially into the Hall of Fame for you two. And thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate it, and you just had a great basketball team. I should read a little bit about this. The Eagles had a 22-6 record that year. They won both the Nebraska College Conference and the NCAA Division II, NAIA District 11 Championship. At the national tournament in Kansas City, the Eagles became the first Nebraska team to win a game in about a decade. The Eagles were coached by Mac Payton, who died in 1980 at age 57, very, very unexpectedly. He was a head coach in 1960 and really energized basketball at Chadron State College, and he remains the school's winningest coach. The Eagles' losses were very few and far between, and they were 19-5 the previous year in 1965-66. And then they made their championship run going 22-6 and then went 18-5 the following year. During this time span, they won 42 straight games in Armstrong. So that was pretty nifty, and for almost 3 years and a little bit more, they won every game that was played in Armstrong Gym. And these people, Jerry Bartak was another big, who was here this summer, lives in California. Jim Rhodes, who lives in Indianapolis, was also the leading scorer and a real key figure on that team, and we got a hold of him this year. Sadly enough, the center of that team, Joe Johnson, who was from Bridgeport, Nebraska, died in about 1990, something like that, when he was doing some work on a roof in North Platte and fell off of that. So that was a sad thing about this team, and they missed him a lot. But the Eagles breezed through most of their schedule. They wrapped up the championship by winning 2 games down at Hastings, which is not an easy place to win games. They won 80-72 the first night and 87-80 the next night. Then they got to play Kearney and Peru, which great teams for a long, long time. And they scored 111 points, 111-73 over Kearney and 114-85 over Peru. And then came the district playoffs, and they got to play the University of Omaha, and the Omaha newspaper said, well, that they didn't think that the Chadron could beat Omaha probably because Omaha had played a much tougher schedule, and they were probably a bigger school, and they thought they could get them. But that didn't work out quite the way the Omaha World Herald sports writer Stott. They beat the Indians, as they were called then, 121-87 on the game over here. And then the next night when they played, or 2 nights later, they went to Omaha and they beat them there 81-65, and that's when they got to go to Kansas City to the national tournament. And we just thank you, and so glad that you fellows could all be here, and I think they're planning even more reunions now that it's been about 40-some years before a lot of these guys had seen each other, and now they're planning some more reunions. And I think Carol Dolson has something he wants to say about something he's done about this team.
Thank you, Con. Just talking about the run that we had in the national tournament in Kansas City, we were not seeded, and there were 32 teams. We played Millersville, Pennsylvania. They were 13 seed, and as you probably know, we won 83-66. There were 8 games that first day, and the last game we were pegged at 10:30. Because of 8 games, we started that game about 11:30 at night, which was part of our downfall, because the next day we had a rest, and then on Friday we started at 9:30 in the morning. It's interesting, we lost to Morris Harvey out of West Virginia, and they were the number 4 seed. Morris Harvey actually went all the way to the semifinals and lost that game. And I really think that we were misseeded during that time, because like Con said, we lost all of our games away. We lost early in the year, and then we started making a run. And I just think if the seeding had been a little bit better. Eastern New Mexico, who we lost to early in December down at Portales, we lost a doubleheader to them. They were seeded number 2. And again, I think the strength that we had was really showing up in the backside of the year. But that's the way that goes too, as you all know. What I did for the team members, I kept a scrapbook. Way back then, I went after Don called me and pulled that out and had it reproduced. And I'm going to give the college one of these. It's about 24 pages, and I'm also going to give the college the 2 programs that we had from the 2 games that we played that you can put in the archives as it goes down through the years, Con. And so, and I'll have one of these for each of the team members too. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you very much. That's wonderful. And these will, now that we're going to have a Hall of Fame room in the Chacoin Event Center, this will be a very great addition. Thank you so much for all of this. Well, individually, we will start with somebody who did come last year to receive her plaque and everything, and she's back again this year from Boulder, Colorado, by way of Canada, Dawn Bocott King. Dawn, would you come forward, please? I almost don't know where to stop and start on Dawn, and this is going to take a while. She's an extremely interesting and enthusiastic person. As you can tell, she's found the fountain of youth, and she looks just as spectacular and is about the same size as she was when she attended Chadron State College in the mid-'80s, some 30 years ago.
33?
I'll try to condense here the story the best I can. It's a wonderful story, and she continually talks about how much she learned or enjoyed her 4 years at Chadron State College, and she continues to brag about it and visits often. And her son, Ben O'Brien, even though he grew up in Boulder, Colorado, where she lives, he comes to Chadron State. He attends Chadron State College, and she was the influence that did that. She told him it'd be a great place for him to come, and he's back for his sophomore year this year. Dawn grew up in Manitoba, and in 1982 she wrote several American colleges and looking for an opportunity to run distances and to earn a degree. Ann Smith was the track coach then at Chadron State. She wrote back to her, and Dawn says she was the most persistent and the most helpful, and Dawn gave she gave Dawn a scholarship and got her a job in the cafeteria. Can you beat that? That's a good thing, isn't it? So Dawn did not let her, though, as a freshman, and they found out later that she was anemic. And it wasn't because she didn't get to eat enough of the cafeteria foods, because she didn't get enough sleep. Now, what were you doing when you didn't get enough sleep, Dawn? Well, you don't need to tell. Your parents are here, I know. So, anyway, as a sophomore, Dawn won the 2-mile at the NAIA District 11 meet, and that was the big meet for Chadron in those days. That's just like going to the RMAC meet now. However, her most memorable race that year was the one she would almost like to forget. It was a marathon. They don't run marathons in college anymore that I know of. That's 26 miles, 385 yards. But it was a marathon in March of 1984 in Fremont. She won the race in 3 hours and 27 minutes, which was 14 minutes ahead of everybody else. But it could have been deadly. The temperature was just 8 degrees when they ran that, and the wind chill index was reportedly to be 30 degrees. She said she told me last year that she still shivered when she thought about it. Well, that spring, Dawn had another hair-raising event, and it was weather-related also. She had the lead and was awarded first place in the 10,000 meters at the Continental Divide track meet, which was in Colorado. It was stopped by a thunderstorm, and the conference, incidentally, was really short-lived, but it included the Air Force Academy, Colorado State at Fort Collins, Northern Colorado, Eastern Montana, and the Eagles, among others. And that was quite a big victory, I'll tell you, to win that event. The remainder of the 84 season was better, even though, especially for the conditions, even though she usually placed second, but she set the school
I
record.
don't like when he says that. Oh,
Yeah.
second, but it's true.
Well, you had some stiff competition. And anyway, she set the school record of 5 minutes and 25 seconds, and that record stood at Chadron State College for the next 14 years. During that year, she placed first or second in 13 races. As a junior in 1985, she set the CSC 10,000 meter record of 39:50, and Jamie Newmans, who's one of our great runners right now, placed pretty high today at a cross-country meet in Yankton, South Dakota, and she finally broke that record last year, 29 years later. So good job, Dawn. And although she was slowed by injuries during the outdoor season at her senior year, she'd had another excellent season indoors, and she won the 2-mile and set the field house records at both the Air Force Academy and at Doane College. And while she was there, she qualified for the national meet. At nationals, she had a career best time of 10:57, got fifth in her heat. It was unfortunately, you had to be in the top 4 to finish to go to the finals, but her time was better than the person that won the second heat. Anyway, between the indoor and outdoor season, Dawn suffered a hip injury, and Brad, you'll be interested in this because she missed the first 4 outdoor meets, and she wasn't expected to compete anymore. We thought Dawn was probably over the hill, wouldn't be ever come running again, but then Jerry Pitzer was the track coach that year. He'd taken over when Ann Smith and Bill Tarasky went on leave. And Dawn came, he was out running early one morning, and here, lo and behold, on the same trail, here came Dawn. Well, she said she'd run about 20 miles that morning and noticed that her hip didn't hurt any longer. Well, he told her the bus was leaving for the Black Hills State meet in Spearfish the next morning at 7:30, and she was welcome to come along. Sure enough, they got there, and here she was at 7:30, ready to go, but she'd already run 4 miles to 6 miles, isn't it? 6 miles to see if it's going to be okay. Anyway, she won that race up at Black Hills, won the 5,000 meters, and set another school record, and she had 4 school records when she completed her career. Anyway, that following year, she went then to the ran the National Marathon in November of 1985, and she placed 4th and set the school record, and nobody else has ever tried to challenge that record since then, I'll tell you that much. 3 hours and 5 minutes, and that's a great time, as all of you know that are marathon runners. So anyway, Dawn was a busy person. She kept on running most of her career. After she graduated, she won the Citizens Division of the Boulder. She also won the Denver Marathon. She placed in the top 10 at the Chicago Marathon. And when she was 42, that was when? That wasn't very long ago.
8 years ago.
Anyway, she returned to Manitoba, and she ran another marathon up there and placed in the top 5 up there. Dawn then most of her career was spent in microsystems and things in she was part of the Silicon Valley explosion there, and she went to work for a big company. She saved her money, she invested it well, and she owns some condominiums and things in Boulder now. And we're just so proud and pleased that you still love us here, Don, and we're glad that you are able to come back, and glad that Ben's here too. And her parents are here tonight.
Yeah.
Would you please stand? And also her husband, Ian Vint.
Ben, you stand too.
And Ben, yep, there they are. Thank you so much.
And I can say a few words, right? Can I say a couple of things?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on just a second, because I think the mic went.
I think it's okay again.
Is it? No, it's dead.
Gosh, Con makes you sound good. I love you. Anyways, I just wanted to take 2 minutes to say how fortunate, actually 3 things. I feel very fortunate, grateful, and excited to be here today. Fortunate in the way that CSC found me 33 years ago in a small farm town in central Canada. Grateful that they gave me a second chance. I didn't have really good results my freshman year, and it was probably because I was hanging out with Pam eating chocolate chip cookies and not going to practice. But anyways, they welcomed me back the following year, and I was able to get my degree, so I'm very grateful for that. Third, I'm excited. I'm very excited that the football team won today, and we're all in great moods. And I'm excited that my family's been able to come, including my son, who's also fortunate to be able to attend CSC. So I really wanted to say thank you to Chadron State College. Keep doing what you're doing. Thanks.
Con, I think the battery's out of that mic.
We'll try it. We'll keep trying. Okay. Anyway, this is Trevor Moon from Buffalo, Wyoming, and he's a all-century quarterback at Chadron State, and he's going into the Hall of Fame. And he was very highly touted when he came out of high school, and as a senior, he threw 306 passes, and just 5 of them were intercepted. And during the regular season, just one of his final 157 passes were picked off, and none of the final 74 was intercepted. 2 of his most impressive records, and these are still school records, I believe, were his record of 14.6 yards per reception or per completion, and his 232 yards of total of passing average per game. That's a lot of yards, 224 yards or 32 yards per game. Couple those with how few interceptions he threw, and you know how efficient and effective a quarterback that Trevor was. It's probably why Coach Brad Smith was quoted as saying he knew how to get the job done, and he certainly did. Incidentally, Trevor threw for more than 300 yards in 10 games during his career. And while he was here, he paid attention to things other than football. He was an honor student several semesters, and he picked out one of the prettiest girls on campus, Sandy Lantos. Sandy, you stand up, please? And she comes back and runs on our Kohler run sometimes. Thank you. We need a picture of you afterwards with him, too. And also, she graduated from Chadron State in 1999. She's an English teacher in Buffalo, while Trevor runs a very successful insurance business. Their 2 sons are Mason and Jackson, and Mason, we understand, was a 7th grade quarterback at Buffalo this year. And the parents are here, Mike and Carolyn. Would you please stand, please? As we said, Mike was a high school football coach at Buffalo High School. They were great supporters when he was in school. I know they would play their game on Friday. They were here on Saturday or wherever the Eagles were playing, and they've been great supporters since then. They've stayed in touch with Chadron State all that time, and we really appreciate that. Congratulations, Trevor Moon. You're a member of the Hall of Fame now. We wanted you to come last year. You couldn't, but we're here now, and we'll give you back your plaque. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. You come back later on. We'll take a picture. Ryan Turman. Ryan Turman is from Hay Springs, Nebraska, And he's one of Chadron State's all-time great safeties. He was one of 8 defensive backs who were named to the Eagles All-Century team this past summer. He was a high school quarterback. He almost didn't redshirt as a freshman in 1994. I'm sure his teammates in 98, when he became a senior, were really glad that he did. He did not start as a redshirt freshman in 95, but he intercepted 3 passes that season and developed a reputation of having a knack of being in the right place at the right time. In 1996, when he was a sophomore, he participated in 92 tackles, 73 of them unassisted. He led the RMAC that year in interceptions with 6 interceptions that he returned 161 yards. So he returned them almost 30 yards every time he intercepted the ball. He also returned an interception 51 yards for a touchdown in the playoff game at Central Oklahoma that season, and was a 2-time RMAC Player of the Week. As a junior in 1997, Ryan took part in 107 tackles, 75 of them solos. He also recovered a fumble that season and had 5 interceptions that he returned for 81 yards, and he broke up 15 more passes. In 1998, his senior year, Ryan was back at it again. That year he had 95 tackles, 60 of them unassisted. He swiped 5 more passes that he returned for 66 yards, and 2 of his interceptions that year were in the 4th quarter against Colorado Mines. Now, Chadron State entered that 4th quarter of that game leading by just 7-6. But he picked off the 2 passes, returned them 21 and 31 yards for touchdowns, and the Eagles won that game 33-6, and that's why we got to go to the playoff game at Central Oklahoma then right after that. Ryan was a first-team All-RMAC and a first-team All-Nebraskan, and that's selected by the Omaha World Herald each of his final 3 years. He also received first or second team All-Region honors both his junior and senior years, and he was selected to play in the Snow Bowl in North Dakota in January following that year, and he helped that team win. For his career, he had 20 interceptions that he returned 299 yards and for 5 touchdowns. He also received academic all-region honors, and he tried to get away from Hay Springs in western Nebraska for a little while. He went to Colorado Springs, I believe. Yep. That's where he met his wife, and she's not here tonight. She was out of town, but he's got his 3 kids here, and he also has his parents here. And would you please stand up? The children are twins, Reese and Peyton, and another young boy named Bryce, and his parents are Randy and Betty. And it's way in the back. It was great, too, that we know that your grandparents, they got to come to a lot of your games, too, before they passed away, didn't they? And they enjoyed that. He had a little brother by the name of Jeff who was tougher than nails, and he'll be in the Hall of Fame in a few years, too, when his time comes. We make people wait about 15 years before we induct them into the Hall of Fame. But I'm sure Jeff will be there, too. Congratulations, Ryan. I know that the people of Hay Springs are really, really proud to have him back. They gave him plenty of jobs. They made him coach the football team, or let him something for about 10 years. He finally gave that up. He's the fire chief of Hay Springs and a great citizen of Hay Springs, and gives a lot of energy to both he and Randy. I think Randy's the president of the fire department, and we're just glad you're back in western Nebraska, and good to see you, Ryan, and congratulations. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Did you want to say anything? Now we'll switch over to the women for just a little bit. And Molly Ruggles Garson. Molly was going to come from Laramie, Wyoming last year. She was another victim of the blizzard and didn't make it over. And she's back tonight, though, and we're really glad she is. As indicates in the program tonight, Molly was and remains one of the all-time outstanding volleyball players in Chadron State history. She led the team in both kills and in digs all 4 years, front row and back row. And she was selected the team's outstanding player the last 3 years she was here. When Molly was a sophomore in 96, she was named to the all-tournament teams at South Dakota State. And during that match, the Eagles beat Concordia of Minnesota. And Molly had 21 kills and 22 digs in that game. Beating Concordia of Minnesota is a pretty big deal. They have won the last 7 straight NCAA Division II national championships, and that team has won over 90% of their matches since 2003. So they're pretty good. Congratulations on doing a good job against them. Molly also was the RMAC East Player of the Week in '96 when she had 32 kills and 34 digs in 2 matches against Kearney and Fort Hays State. And that season she was among the leaders in both kills and digs in the RMAC, and that happened every year, really. As a junior in 1997, she set 2 school records versus South Dakota Tech. In one match, she had 8 ace serves for a record, and she also had 13 kills and only 1 hitting error. And about a week later, the Eagles played the Hard Rockers again, and Molly set a record this time for most kills in a 3-set match with 26. That's a lot of kills in just 3 sets. She had 47 chances and only 5 hitting errors for a .447 hitting percentage, and anything over .250 is considered really good. When Molly was a senior in '98, she was a star when the Eagles beat Fort Hays State, which came to Chadron and played it, and they'd already won 20 matches when they came here, and Chadron beat them in a 2.5-hour marathon. You have any idea how many times you jumped in that game? Or how many any blocks or anything? Wow. She also placed on the RMAC All-Academic team. She placed first in the conference's second team for the 3rd year in a row. And she not only led Chadron State in most kills and digs that year, she also had the most blocks and the most ace serves. An all-around player if there ever was one. Somebody wrote a column about Molly near the end of her career. Here's a little about what it said. It said, I rate her as one of this year's seniors as one of the best players ever to wear the Chadron State uniform. All these other people that we're going to mention are in the Hall of Fame. Carol Bachman, Barbara Zern, Carolyn Williams, Jennifer Durbin Proud, Roxy Bohm, Wendy Grant Alexander, and Jennifer Vasey Reiners, whose husband is now the football coach at Black Hills State. Every coach in the RMAC knows about Molly's ability to pound the ball. That's why they often put 2 blockers opposite her, and that's why Ruggles also is a great defensive player. She not only leads the Eagles in kills by a wide margin, but she also sets the pace in digs. And goes on to say that during her 4 years on the team, she had 400 more kills and 500 more digs than the runner-up if you add all the number 2 people on the team. And regardless of how much talent there is in the league, it's the sports writer who wrote this said, that might have been me, said, it's my observation that there aren't many around who can both hit and dig as well as Molly. She deserves to be remembered as one of Chadron State's all-time greats. Congratulations, Molly, and your husband. I understand you married your neighbor boy. Jim Garson is here, and your parents, and would you please stand? Over here, okay. Glad to have you here. Thank you very, very much. Congratulations. Thank you, Molly.
Molly, congratulations.
Thank you.
And now we're going to have a change of pace a little bit, and we're going to turn it over to Dr. Scott Ritson, who will present the wrestling awards. Scott, as a lot of you probably know, was the Chadron State wrestling coach for 25 years. He's the longest tenured coach at CSC, regardless of the sport. And he had 33 All-Americans during his time as a coach at Chadron State. He's in the Chadron State Hall of Fame. And in 2013, he was named to the NCAA Division II Wrestling Hall of Fame. He's also in the Adams State Hall of Fame, where he attended school. He was president of the National Wrestling Coaches Association, and he and his wife Donna teach in the PE department. So does their son John, and that's the reason we have a great physical education department. It helps make it a great physical education department at Chadron State. And so we'll turn it over now to Scott.
Well, thank you, Con. I'm glad to be here. It's exciting to see everyone and to be a part of this group of student athletes. I had an opportunity to be here for almost all of them. not all of them. I'm not that old, but almost all of them. So I really appreciate the efforts that they put in and help us put Chandler State College and keep it on the map, put it on the map, and keep it going. So first I'd like to have Kevin Allison come up. Start with Kevin. I'll run through some of Kevin's statistics, and then I have a couple stories about each of these athletes. Kevin's freshman year, he went 27-20, 27 wins, 20 losses. He led the team in several categories that we keep, statistical categories that we keep. He also, as a freshman, led the team in pins with 14. So out of his 27 wins, he had 14 pins, which is a very big number. And so definitely scored us a lot of points as a freshman. And he was voted the team's Rookie of the Year. He was the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference runner-up, and he qualified for nationals as a freshman as well. Kevin also helped on the academic side. The team was the third-ranked team in the NCAA academic standings as well. So that was a good freshman year. Like I said, 14 pins. He led some categories and did a good job. His sophomore year, even better yet, he was 23-8. He was RMAC champion, again an NCAA qualifier. He also helped academically. The team was the fourth-ranked NCAA team in the country academically, and the team was also the runner-up in the RMAC dual meet championship his sophomore year. Kevin's junior year, his record was 24-15. He led the team in pins, again, with 9. He also had a pin in just 10 seconds, which is awfully fast, which was not very typical of Kevin. He was also, and I'll tell you about that in a little bit, he was also an NCAA qualifier again, the third time. And again, he helped academically to the team that was fourth in the NCAA academic standings for GPA. His senior year, really a special year for all of us, 17-9. NCAA qualifier again, which made it 4 in a row. Led the team with most pins again. He was voted the team MVP. He was an NCAA All-American, a fourth-place finisher at the national tournament. And fortunately enough, we had him for 4 years. He got a chance to wrestle in the lineup for 4 years. That adds up to me to be 91 career wins. And Con said 92, and I might say 92. So it's got to be 92 career wins. It can't be 91 because I'm sure Con knows every guy that he wrestled and what the score was. So it's got to be 92 wins. He pinned 38 opponents out of his 92 wins. He also was a 3-time NCAA academic All-American. And as I mentioned before, he was 4th place at the national championship. He was the first 4-time NCAA qualifier for Chandler State College, and there's only been 4 other athletes that have qualified for the national championship 4 years in a row, so that is quite an accomplishment as well. Now just a couple things about Kevin. As I mentioned, he wasn't a very fast starter, and if I could think of all the athletes that I've had, he was probably the one that most people have asked about and said, who was that guy? Who was that guy that would get behind by 5 points? Who was that guy that would get behind by 8 points in the first period and then always come back and win? And they'd always want to know, who was that guy? And I'll tell you what, that was the guy that almost put me in my grave. Kevin was, needless to say, hard to coach because he just had those slow starts. And I tell you, we tried to do everything we could to get him to warm up before a match. We made him wrestle live. We made him run sprints. I slapped him around a little bit to wake him up. He almost slapped me back. But we did about everything we could, and it didn't take me long to figure out, just sit back and enjoy the show. Because when he gets his motor going, there wasn't anybody that could stay with him. And it was very, very fun to coach in that situation after I figured it out and let him do what he had to do. Another story about Kevin was at the national championship his senior year, he had a great run. He wrestled against the number 2 ranked wrestler in the country from Nebraska, Omaha, in the consolation semifinals to get in to be in for the 3rd and 4th place match. And of course, Kevin was not favored in that match at all. And sure enough, he came through and won. And I think to this day, Kevin probably doesn't know this, but the coach, legendary coach from the University of Nebraska-Omaha, Mike Denny, he always will hate you, Kevin, because you took that was the amount of points that they needed to win the national championship that year. And Kevin knocked that kid off and put him in the back, and they didn't score enough points to win the national championship. They finished as runners-up. So he does not like you very much, but I loved it. So, Kevin lives now next to near Gillette, his hometown, and he and his wife Kelly Jo have 2 kids. They have a daughter, Lainey, and a son named Tully. And KJ was also a graduate of Shatner State. And I won't probably have, I guess, all right, go ahead. Everybody that's here for Kevin, stand up, including Kelly Jo and the kids. So that would take a while to introduce all of us. So we'll just leave that as a general introduction. So, but it's my great pleasure and was my great honor to coach Kevin Allison, and let's congratulate him on an induction into the 2014 Shatner State College Athletic Hall of Fame. All right, Justin. Justin Hoopman, please come forward. Again, I'll give you some statistical information, and then I'll give a few stories as well. His freshman year, Justin finished with a 23-16 record. He did also, similar to Kevin, he led the team in pins as a freshman with 10, which is very difficult to do. 10 pins as a freshman is a big number. 10 out of 23 wins. The team also, with Justin's help, won the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference Championship and the NCAA Division II West Regional Championship. Coming back his sophomore year, he really racked up a number of wins. 35-13 was his record. Of the statistical categories I mentioned, we kept 11 statistical categories, and Justin led 7 out of those 11 categories, including wins and team points and pins and things like that. He was voted the team's most outstanding wrestler. He was an NCAA qualifier, and again, he helped, as Kevin did, to with his academic GPA, he helped us to the 3rd-ranked team in the NCAA regarding academic standings. His junior year, he was 22-11. He reached the championship in 4 out of our 4 tournaments out of the 6 or 7 that we had on our schedule, and finished, like I said, in the championships of those, which is why his numbers were a little low that year, 22 wins. When you're in the championship, you don't get as many matches as you would if you were wrestling back for 3rd place. Again, Justin was an NCAA qualifier for the 2nd time, and again, the team was ranked 4th with the GPA in the NCAA academic standings. His senior year, a fantastic year again, similar to Kevin. 31-11 was his record. He led the team in 5 out of the 11 categories. He was voted the team's most outstanding wrestler again. Winning that award 2 times is very unusual, and so and a real tribute to a long career that Justin had, a successful career. Again, he was an NCAA qualifier and finished as an All-American with an 8th place finish at the NCAA championships. And for a career, he had 111 victories. And 111 victories at the time when Justin graduated was a school record. And that has since been eclipsed by 2 athletes, both of them national champions. So he can feel pretty good about the company that he's in with 111 wins. Justin was only pinned twice in his 162 matches he had at Shatner State, which is very unusual. And so that was a tribute to him. 3-time national qualifier, 2-time most outstanding wrestler, as I mentioned, and also on the NCAA All-Academic team. Just a couple comments about Justin. When Justin came on his recruiting trip, he wore this goofy-looking hat, and He came in the room, and I said, he's got to lose the hat for sure. And you don't want to go out looking for trouble when you're in wrestling. And so I said, well, I hope he can lose the hat. Well, we lost Justin. He didn't wrestle as a freshman. And he liked the hat too much, I guess. Eventually, Justin realized, and of course we welcomed him back with open arms, and he came back in the next year and competed as a redshirt freshman and accomplished an unbelievable amount for our program. And so I always remember Justin as being a little squirrely. His style was a little bit different, a little bit hard to coach, a little hard for opponents to figure out, which is why he racked up so many wins. And I would give him a little hard time about his style. But of course, my youngest son, who's involved in wrestling, kind of wrestles a little bit like Justin. So now I realize, well, maybe it wasn't all so bad. So Justin just had a wonderful career here. He married Melissa, who is also a 1999 graduate. They have 3 kids, Madison, Abby, and Zach. And I've been able to follow Justin very closely because my youngest son and Zach, Justin's son, are very good friends. And so it's been great to watch his career develop and watch him develop as a young man. And I'm so proud of these two. But let's congratulate Justin Hoopman, induction into the 2014 Chatham State College Athletic Hall of Fame.
Why don't you introduce Corey too at the end here?
Okay.
Because he's right over here. He's over at the end, off the north side. Thank you.
Con wanted me to mention a few other items too. We also have another Hall of Fame member here from the wrestling program. That's Corey Arndt. Corey, please stand. There's Corey over there. Teammates with these guys, so I think you see how easy it was for me to coach during those times. Another young man that's here was a huge asset. He won't get a lot of accolades, but Jay Camino, please stand up. Jay was my student assistant, and at Chatham State College, we don't have the luxury, we did not have the luxury of having a lot of assistant coaches, and those guys worked their tails off, so I appreciate that as well. So thanks to all those guys. Thank you.
Better do another one.
Many of you may not know that our future, hopefully, Hall of Fame football coach, Jay Long, was also my heavyweight. And so he is here also. And stand up, Jay.
Are you sure Kevin and Corey weren't that good?
Yeah. Yeah. Little story about Jay. He was a heavyweight, and Jay will be the first to tell you he was undersized, and everybody told him he couldn't do it, and he couldn't do it, and he couldn't play on the offensive line because he wasn't big enough, and Jay proved about everybody wrong, and he was an anchor for our program as well. So Jay Long as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Coach. That was great, and we appreciate it. Our next inductee is from the women's track program, and Keely Kit Nelson Bennett will come forward. She really went by Kit. I may call her Keely, but I knew her both names. But Kit, anyway, came to Chatham State from Niobrara County High School at Lusk, Wyoming. That's where her parents, Ronnie and Holly Nelson, both graduates of Chatham State in 1970, have spent their lives teaching in that school system. One of Ron's duties for many, many years has been coaching the throwers on the track team, and he has turned out many good ones. How many champions? 36?
26.
26 state champions. That isn't titles, that's individuals who've won Wyoming state championships that he has coached at Chatham State. Of course, Kit did her share, and Doug Lytle, who lived with the Nelsons when he was going through high school, and he's probably the all-time great thrower at Chatham State when you consider all the events that he did. He was inducted into the CSC Hall of Fame 2 years ago. Another standout, as my script says, he got the coach, and we've already let the cat out of the bag, was Kit. And that's who we're honoring tonight, and she won both the shot and the discus at the state track meet twice and was second in both events a third year at the state meet. During her senior year in 1992, she set the Class 2A state championship record in Wyoming with a throw of 40 feet 9.5 inches, and that record lasted until 2009, a total of 17 years. Kit joined the Eagles in 1993 when her highlights included placing third in the shot both at the indoor and the outdoor meets at the RMAC. That year, Kit was a freshman, and Libby Malone, who was a senior, and we inducted her 2 years ago into the Hall of Fame, usually was the first in about every one of the throws that you were in, I'm sure, and she set the school record that year. In 1994, when Kit was a sophomore, she won the shot at both the RMAC indoor and outdoor meets. She threw 43.11 indoors and 43.9 3/4 outdoors. She won All-American honors that year by placing 7th at the National Indoor Meet, and she also qualified for the National Outdoor Meet that year and was 9th among about the 20 participants. She also won the first in numerous other meets that year at Black Hills State, at Kearney, Fort Hays, and one at Sioux City. So you brought home a lot of, did they give you medals in those days? Good, glad. You got quite a collection then. In addition, that year, Kit was third at the conference meet in the discus. During her final year of competition for the Eagles, Kit won the shot at a lot of meets again and nearly always placed second when she didn't get first. Her first during the indoor season included 2 victories at Black Hills State, a first at Kearney, and at the Eagles home meet where she threw 45.1.5 to her career best. And she also was a runner-up that year at the RMAC indoor meet. She qualified for the indoor meet, but was injured during the preliminaries and didn't place. It took her a little while to get over that injury, but she bounced back, and she took second at the outdoor meet that year too in the shot put. And just like she did at the indoor meet. And she also was first at a last chance meet at the Air Force Academy. There were a lot of competitors at that meet, weren't there? And her personal best in the discus also came that year, and when she threw 131 feet and 8 inches. Since leaving Chadron State, Kit has done well. She and her husband, Cliff Bennett, live in Wheatland, Wyoming, where she is the Platte County Chief Deputy Clerk. And also with her tonight are her daughter, Kelsey, and Kelsey's husband, Jake Young, who live in Gillette, and the Bennett's 2 sons, Connor and Caden. All of you, please stand up. And his parents, too. Of course, we can't forget Ron and Holly because they've been great boosters of Chadron State. And every year when we have our indoor track meet at Chadron, the high school indoor meet, we know that Lusk is going to bring down some really good throwers. And they've got another one right now that even broke Doug Lytle's state record last year, and he'll be a senior this year at Niobrara County High School. So come and get your plaque, Kit, and we're just so happy you could be in the Hall of Fame. Do you want to say anything? Now we're going to have another great athlete from the state of Wyoming come forward. This is Tanya Weber. She's got a big fan club here tonight too, just like Kevin does. Wow. Where do you guys get so many friends and neighbors? I don't know. Anyway, that's wonderful. Well, Tanya, I should say, she didn't push along a lot of the opposing centers around, but she was a lot quicker than most of them, and I think she had pretty sharp elbows in those days. And anyway, she was a great center for Chadron State. She was a freshman in 1994 and 95 when she played on an excellent team. Tricia Lakowski, would you please stand? You'd already gone back to Chicago then, but you had set the all-time school scoring record here. We're glad you're here, the Hall of Famer. But also left on that team were Lacey and Jamie. And you two stand when Tanya was a freshman. And what a great year that was. That team went That team, just about like the men's basketball team, we inducted into the Hall of Fame, and I'm afraid somebody's going to bring up, I think somebody will probably bring up that maybe that team should be in the Hall of Fame too. But anyway, they went 22-8 that year. They lost their first 3 games on the road in Minnesota, but they came back and went 22-5 the rest of the year. That was a great, great team, I'll tell you what. Pretty good record for basketball. Tanya came off the bench that year, but she did a great job. She averaged 5.3 points and 4.7 rebounds. She made 52 of 105 field goal shots that year, almost exactly 50%. Things weren't quite as easy the next year because she was really the only stalwart that came back. These two graduated, and Jen Bonser also graduated, and so there wasn't as much people and many good players left. A few transfers came in, but there were some of the all-time greats we were missing. But they came back tonight to see their friend Tanya. We're so glad for that. And to be sure, Tanya had some great games that year. She led the team in both scoring and rebounds. She really beat up on South Dakota Tech or South Dakota Mines, whichever we want to call them. The first time those teams played, Tanya was 9 for 12 from the field, 8 for 9 from the free throw line, and scored 26 points, and Tech still won 86-80. The next game, when we played them again, she was 11 for 14 from the field, 3 for 4 from the line, scored 25 points, and had 8 rebounds, and the Eagles won that game 78-63. We also beat New Mexico Highlands, and Tanya had 21 points and 12 rebounds and was 7 for 8 from the free throw line. She also scored 22 of the team's 55 points during a victory at Adams State that year. As a junior in 96-97, the Eagles beat up on poor old South Dakota Tech again, but they weren't easy. They weren't a pushover. The score was 88-82 in overtime. She finished with 22 points, 12 rebounds, and was 10 for 12 from the free throw line, and she scored 9 of the points in the overtime. We also beat Colorado Christian, and Tanya had 22 points in that game. She also tallied 22 against Mesa and was 10 for 11 from the free throw line. In 98-99, when Tanya was a senior, they beat the Hard Rockers from South Dakota Tech again, this time 65-63. Tanya had 25 points and 7 rebounds. And I'll bet you got a graduation card from Coach Barb Felderman, didn't you? She should have sent you a couple of them, I'll tell you. Also, during the trip to the high country of Colorado when she was a senior, Tanya had 17 points and 8 rebounds as they beat Western State. And the next night they did lose to Mesa, but she scored 20 points. She also tallied 22 points against Kearney that year. In addition, she was the top scorer with 16 points in a win over Regis, scored 25 points against Metro, 8 for 10 from the field, 9 for 13 from the free throw line, and that season she was the leading scorer in 16 of the 26 games and the top rebounder in 11 of them, and led the team in both scoring and rebounding, just as she's done as a sophomore. They tried to guard you, didn't they? They tried. They surely fouled you a lot. You made 101 of 140 free throws for 72.3% when you were a senior, and no one else on the Shadron team that year shot more than 45 free throws. More than 85. You shot 140, and the next of your teammates was 85, and no one else in the conference shot more than 131. So you got fouled the most, I'm afraid. You shot with your 140 shots. She finished her career with 1,119 points and 605 rebounds. She was 7th in scoring and 3rd in rebounding when she graduated, and you left. You're still 7th and 3rd in rebounding. We'd love to have a few more players like you. She's now a nurse in the Denver area, and we're glad you're back to see us again, Tanya. And you want to tell us who some of your people are here tonight? Well, her parents, Tim and Betty, are here, I know, and many, many other guests. Stand up, everybody that's here for Tanya Weber. She said most of them are aunts and uncles, and they're proud as can be of Tanya Weber, newest member of our Shadron State Athletic Hall of Fame. We We also had another basketball player we were going to induct tonight, and we will go ahead and induct him even though he's not here, J.V. Vodakovich. J.V. came from Buena Vista, Colorado, where he still lives. He runs a whitewater rafting business there. He averaged 19.7 points when he was a senior, and he was a deadly free throw shooter, one of the best. He led the RMAC in free throw shooting when he was a senior. During his career, he made 307 of 379 free throws for 81%. That's during his career. He was second team All-RMAC as a senior, and he finished his career with 1,160 points. And he's now 14th on the all-time scoring list at Chadron State. When he left here, he was 14th. He's now 17th, and he lives in his hometown, as we said, of Buena Vista, Colorado. As a senior, he hit 57 of 154 three-point shots, too, when he was here at Chadron State. So J.V. Vodakovich, we wish he could have been with us tonight, but he was unable to be here, and we just want to welcome him into the Hall of Fame, too. If you followed Chadron State College football through the years, you probably heard of the name of Kevin Homer. As it states in the program, he was often considered as the Eagles' all-time outstanding defensive player. He started at middle linebacker for 4 years, earned all-conference, was All-Nebraska NCAA Division II from the Omaha World Herald each of his final 3 years. 3-time all-conference, 3-time All-Nebraska. Besides that, he was the I got a lot to say about you, Kevin, but I'm glad you're coming up. No, you come on up. Besides that, he was the all-time leading tackler, and you can see in the program he was good at taking away the ball. He forced 16 fumbles. He recovered 8 fumbles. He intercepted 7 passes, and combine that with the 20 passes that Ryan Turman intercepted during those same years, you got to believe that Chadron State had quite a takeaway advantage. He also was credited with 43 passes broken up and 8 block kicks during his career. 8 block kicks, that's pretty good, isn't it? Besides being all-conference and all-Nebraska, Kevin earned numerous other all-star honors and was a consensus All-American as a senior in 1998. In 2009, when the RMAC was selecting its best players after having played a century of football, Kevin Homer was voted the outstanding defensive player all time in the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference. 2 years before that, the conference had already inducted him into its Hall of Fame. We make them, as we said in Chadron State, we make them wait about 15 years. And the RMAC didn't make him wait that long, and he certainly was worthy of going in pretty soon after he graduated, that's for sure. As a sophomore in 1996, he was Football Gazette's National Defensive Player of the Week when we played Fort Lewis. That season, he also was a 2-time RMAC and Nebraska Player of the Week. In 1997, when he led the RMAC in tackles, he won the RMAC Player of the Week honors twice and the Nebraska honor 4 times. He also was a finalist in the Harlan Hill Award for that goes to the top player in NCAA Division II that year. As a senior in 93, he got more and more and more honors. He was a Football Gazette Defensive Player of the Week twice. He was selected to play in the East-West All-Star Game and got an invitation to go to the Pro Combine in Indianapolis. But now we'll get down to the real nitty-gritty about Kevin Homer. There are a few things that numerous people who have been around Chadron State football remember about Kevin when he played for Chadron State. One of them occurred in 1996 when he was when Magic, who we will be inducting next, was a senior, and Kevin and Trevor Moon and Ryan Turman were all sophomores. There were a lot of question marks about this 1996 team. The Eagles had the fewest starters of any team in the RMAC returning. The opening game was a 25-24 squeaker over Fort Lewis. That score did not make anyone think that Chadron State might be a powerhouse that year. The second game in 1996 was against Eastern New Mexico in the Lone Star Conference. We played them down at Portales. In that At that time, every team in the Lone Star Conference seemed far beyond Chadron State's reach. Texas A&M at Kingsville had won several national championships, and they had lots of money, and they had lots of things going for them in the Lone Star Conference. Anyway, the Eagles had a game lined up with Eastern New Mexico. The Eagles had been in the RMAC for a few years. They'd won quite a lot of games, and they were going to spread their wings and go a little bit farther that year. On the first play of the fourth quarter, the Eagles scored a touchdown to take a 20-17 lead. That proved to be the final score, largely because of what happened soon afterwards. The Greyhounds drove to their own 14-yard line behind the running of tailback Derek Johnson. He had been voted the Lone Stars Conference's preseason Offensive Player of the Year. He'd carried on nearly every play and Eastern New Mexico had a 2nd and goal at the Chadron State 7-yard line. There probably wasn't much question who was going to get the ball the next play, was there? When Eastern snapped the ball, Homer from his linebacker position, and I can remember this very clearly, and Rick Berry, who was on the team then, and we talked about it a while back, this is something we'd never seen anybody do. He vaulted over both the Chadron State defensive line and the Eastern New Mexico offensive line and met Johnson in the backfield just as he was taking the handoff from the quarterback. I said met, I should have said he blasted him. The ball popped free, and another Johnson, Ike Johnson, who was a Chadron State linebacker, made the recovery. The Eagles hung on for the win, thanks in part to Kerry Bailey's interception of a long pass almost at the goal line with just over a minute left, allowing the Eagles to run out the clock. I've always felt that this win was what Jay Long likes to call a signature win for the Eagles. Jay talks about that they're like signature wins. That's a big win. And after that, I think Chadron State knew that they could play football against anybody. And I think Kevin's leap over the lines and the hit on Derek Johnson and the fumble was a signature play in that game. In 1996, and that was also the year that when these guys were sophomores and Magic was a senior. It was the first time that Chadron had defeated Kearney in 34 games dating back to 1948. All 4 of the honorees tonight were involved in those games. Another special incident regarding Kevin occurred in 1997 when Kevin was a junior. The Eagles played at Montana State in Bozeman. Although the Eagles won the game, or the Bobcats really won the game 24-14, Kevin had 12 unassisted and 7 assisted tackles. After the game, the Montana State coach, Cliff Heisel, asked Brad Smith, the athletic director and the head coach, "Where in the blinkety blank did you get number 57? And Brad said, "Well, he's from Casper, Natrona." And the Montana State coach replied, "I'm going to fire my Wyoming recruiter." Also in 1997, the Eagles were playing in Kearney. For some reason, Tom Kropp, the Kearney basketball coach and all-time great in both football and basketball, was over on our sideline. He had a habit of doing that. He'd come over to our sideline for some reason at those games. In fact, he was almost lying down, and if he wasn't lying down, he was sitting on the sideline just before halftime. Kearney threw a pass, and Homer, who had gone back about 12 yards downfield, jumped up and made a one-handed interception. Kropp suddenly sprung up from where he was crouching or sitting or lying, whatever he was doing, and said something very similar to what the Montana State coach had said. "Where in the dickens did you get a guy like that?" Well, that turned out to be quite a game. Ryan intercepted a pass in the third quarter and returned it 43 yards for a touchdown. The Eagles had a drive that went the length of the field, converting 2 fourth down situations along the way, and kicked the field goal with 17 seconds to send the game into overtime. The big play in overtime occurred when the Kearney quarterback ill-advisedly pitched the ball back to a back who was not expecting it. Kevin recovered it, and Ryan jumped for joy. Is that picture available to show?
No.
It will be? Okay. All right. Anyway, that's what happened. Kevin's curled around the ball, and Ryan's up in the air pointing Chadron's ball. We should also mention that Trevor threw for 327 yards in that game. Chadron State also beat Kearney 27-23 when the three of these guys were seniors in '98. Trevor threw for 379 yards in that game. Ryan had 11 tackles, 9 of them solos, and Kevin had 10 tackles, 7 of them unassisted. The day after the game, Brad Smith, the coach, said several people had asked him why in the world Kearney didn't block number 57. And this is what Brad replied. He said, "I told him I think they tried, but they just weren't very effective at it." Also after the game, the Kearney Hub sports writer, Buck Mahoney, told me, he said, "If Homer isn't the player of the year in the conference, I'm going to write an editorial." He didn't say he's going to write a sports column. He said he's going to write an editorial. Before we give Kevin his plaque, we better introduce his father, Bob, and his wife are here. And also here tonight is Trish. And I guess I didn't bring any of your children?
Brady, Scotland, and Camden, but they're not here.
They're not here. Okay.
You're welcome.
Okay. Thank you. Anyway, we're glad you are being inducted into the Hall of Fame. It's high time, and congratulations.
Thanks very
on a great
much.
school. You want to say anything?
I appreciate it.
Thank you. Dan Magic Machichak. I hope I said that right. We don't know, but we just call him the Magic Man. Call him Magic. He redshirted as a true freshman at Chadron State in 1991 and then started at offensive tackle the next year. He missed the '93 season because he had a torn medial, I may need your help, Don. Medial collateral ligament in his right knee. Anyway, he came back the next year and began the season at offensive guard, but soon moved to center where he spent the rest of his career. We often called him the center of attention. His career really took off that year. Magic was a unanimous all-conference selection that year. At the end of the season, Brad Smith called Magic one of the finest offensive linemen I know about at Chadron State. The news story at the end of the year said his great strength and speed made him a perfect center. He's strong enough to handle a nose guard by himself and mobile enough to block linebackers. He also has an engaging personality and has excellent leadership qualities. Engaging personality might be an understatement. Those who know Magic will understand what we're trying to explain there. Anyway, he's pretty engaging. He's fun to be around. He likes to come down, and Jay has him speak to the team every year about what it is to be an Eagle, and he really helps fire them up. Magic also was unanimous first team all-conference selection the next 2 years, and not many players at any position can say they received every vote for 3 years in a row. The knee injury was one of 5 major injuries that Magic had. You got to know him pretty well, Don, I'll bet you. Sustained entering his senior year. At the start of the year, Magic said he wasn't worried about injuries. He was just going to play and have fun. And here's what he said about having fun. He said, having fun is snapping the ball and then running over a defender so the running back can do his thing, or blocking a linebacker so the quarterback can make the throw. The story also said that Magic could bench press 225 pounds at least 35 times and squat 500 pounds and power clean 300 pounds and had 5.2 speed. Could have played on the basketball team, you think? You're good enough? Oh, you don't think so? Okay. At the start of the season, Coach Bill O'Boyle said as far as athletic ability, dedication, and toughness is concerned, he's got it all. Plus, he's a team guy and has a heart to overcome all the adversity that a player should have. He deserves to have a great season because he's worked so hard and plays so well, even when he's banged up. In April 1997, another story came out. This was courtesy of his agent, Neo Cambardino. And he said Magic had bench pressed 225 pounds 42 times, while no other offensive prospect, regardless of the size of school they came from, had done it more than 36 times. In other words, he was pretty strong. Magic was a Associated Press Little All-American, a COSIDA All-American, and a Football Gazette All-American that year. That makes him a consensus All-American. In his days, in my days as a photographer along the sidelines, I'm sure I took more pictures of Magic running down the field ahead of a running back than I ever did of anybody else. And oftentimes he'd be diving at the defender, and he was a pretty big guy then too when he was making those dives at those people. After his college days were over, Magic continued to play indoor arena football for quite a while. And some of the names of the teams: the Madison Mad Dogs, the Peoria Pirates, the Rapid City Red Dogs, and the Black Hills Machine. He also coached the Red Dogs, the Rapid City Flying Aces, the Everett Washington Hawks, and the Wyoming Cavalry. He spent 12 years as coaching in arena football. Some of that time he also was assistant coach at Douglas High School at Ellsworth Air Force Base. That's where he graduated from high school. And in 2009 he became the Patriots head coach. And his team is having another good year, and on Thursday, is it? Tuesday? Thursday, he will be playing in a playoff game. There's only 8 teams in Division 2AA, and the largest division in South Dakota, and his team is one of those. One of the Patriots' mainstays on that team is his son, Jared. He plays on the line for Douglas. Jared, would you stand up? Let's see, he's a senior this year. Jared, have you ever met Coach Long? I thought maybe. We'll, but better. Oh, anyway. Just to let you know, the family dynasty isn't about to run out. There's also Jason, who's now in the 4th grade. Jason, you stand up. Hi, Jason. Jason, do you ever get to stand in the front row when they take the class picture? I'll bet you don't get to stand in the front row. I doubt it. Anyway, then we all, as we say, behind every good man, there's a great woman, just like I tried to explain today and tell about Peggy. And Magic's great woman behind him is also a Chadron State graduate, and that's Rebecca. Rebecca, who is a graduate of Chadron State, and she was one of my wife's favorite students in Peg's 24 years of teaching here. And so Rebecca, you better stand up too, please. And there's usually some surprised in-laws along the way too, right? Anyway, from Merriman, Nebraska, we have Zale and Judy Quibble, they are the proud in-laws of Magic and the proud grandparents of Jaden and Jason, or Jared and Jason. So we're glad you folks could be here tonight from Merriman. Thank you. Magic, welcome to the Hall of Fame.
No.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Good luck to your team in the playoffs.
Thank you.
I think at this time I'll turn the microphone over to Joel. I'm not sure I introduced properly all the Hall of Famers at this table over here. Tricia came from Chicago. We also have Jamie Huckfeld, who lives in Mitchell, and we have Lacey Orpin Finn, who lives in the Dallas area. Which town is it? Okay. Got her there. Her mother's here, and also Jamie's mother's here, and I can really embarrass her. I'll tell them that she was a rodeo queen at Chadron State one year, weren't you? Good job. Thank you very much, folks, and we'll let Joel close the program. Thank you for being patient, but these people have done lots and lots of great things tonight. We wanted to tell you all about them. Thank you all for coming. It's great to have so many people come to support these fine people, and they're very successful in their careers now, and we're just so proud of all of them. They're going to be great representatives. They have been great representatives of Chadron State, and it makes us all proud when we have alumni that support us so well, and we appreciate you very, very much.
Con, thank you very much. And again, let's have one round of applause for all of our inductees tonight. I didn't think I'd ever see this happen, but Con missed something. So you're going to have to write this down.
I've missed a lot.
In 1996, you mentioned that the team played Fort Lewis in the first game and won by 1 point. They also played Fort Lewis in the last game in a snowstorm, very similar, maybe worse than the one we had the other day. It just came in time for us to play the game. And who was the athletic director at Fort Lewis then?
Probably you.
It was me, yeah. I was the athletic director. So I'm 0-2 against that team. So actually, I'm more than 0-2 against that team. So thank you very much for being here tonight and celebrating our legacies. One of the great things about Chadron State Athletics is that from the minute that you come here till the minute that you pass away, you're always an Eagle. And we are glad to have the opportunity tonight to celebrate that. I hope you'll take that with you, and you'll come back again next year, and we'll have to blow that wall out there, and we'll get some more people in here. So have a very safe trip back home, and God bless you all. Thank you.